Story time of how I met my husband. We met over 15 years ago on a dating website called eHarmony. At the time, I was a neurosurgery resident and I did not want to find somebody in the hospital. I was not trying to be like Grey's Anatomy. So I joined eHarmony, which I had been a member of for a few years. You guys, I went on some pretty horrible dates. Just imagine trying to tell a guy that you are a brain surgeon. It is a little intimidating to some people. And I actually stopped telling people I was a neurosurgeon. I just said I was in healthcare. At this time of my life, I was 28 years old. I was a third-year neurosurgery resident. And to be honest, I wasn't really sure if I would ever find anybody. Long story short is I joined eHarmony a few years before I actually met Ray, and you fill out a bunch of questionnaires and then you're given some matches. And Ray was actually one of my first 5 matches on that platform. This was 2 years before I met him, and I remember reading his profile and thinking that he was probably pretty interesting, but I didn't want to be the woman that went after the guy. I wanted the guy to come to me, so I never reached out to him. Years passed, I went off and on the app, and then at the time I was actually off the app, and you get an email saying that I had someone that wanted to reach out. In order to reply to that email, I had to join the platform again. And I remember the profile picture because it was him holding his dog, Bobo, and a parrot on his shoulder. And that's a pretty memorable picture. So at the time that I got this email, I was actually on my 3rd year of my neurology rotation. So I had a little bit of time on my hands. So I thought, what the hell? So I joined the app back, read his email, replied, and we went out on our first date. Remember, I first messaged him back. We talked on the phone. I was actually out of town. It was Christmas and I was at my parents' house. And we talked on the phone for 3 hours. I don't talk on the phone with anybody for that long. Now, I did tell him that I was a resident physician and that did not seem to bother him, but I did not tell him that I was in neurosurgery. Fast forward, after that conversation, we decided that we would go out on a date, and I went out on our first date December 28th, 2009. Had our first date. I drove 45 minutes to Raleigh. I was in Durham at the time, so I could meet him at this random bar in Raleigh. And I already decided on any date that I went out on, I only agreed to drinks because I had many horrible dates in which I got stuck in for hours because the initial experience was horrible. So we wanted to keep it short and sweet. We had a couple drinks and I was actually having a good time. So we ordered dinner. And you know what I ordered? I ordered a freaking salad. And if you know me, I don't eat salad. Even though I hated the dinner, it was like great conversation. We had a good time. We stayed there for 2 hours. He made me feel comfortable. He was funny. He made me laugh. And we talked about all kinds of things. And we did not talk about work, which to me was a complete refresher because if you're in medicine, you need a little bit of a break. After dinner, he walked me to my car and he did get a little goodnight kiss. And I will say that I found out later the reason why he walked me to my car is because he wanted to see what I drove. Because like me, he was a car person and he wanted to make sure that I wasn't driving something that he wouldn't necessarily approve on. And jokes on him, at the time I was driving a BMW 328i, pretty badass car. So I guess he approved because we went on several wonderful dates after. And after about 3 months of dating, I knew that he was the one. So that's a recap of our first date. And I will say that we still have those color changing Coors Light glasses that we drank our first drink together still in our pantry. Yeah, when you go on that date, you just never know that you may be going on a date with someone that you'll spend the rest of your life with.